there's an argument out there that human society nowadays is organized along the lines of Darwinian sexual selection, that women's subordinate role in society, in the family, is a natural result of evolutionary selective processes. The idea is that men compete and then women choose amongst the fittest males in the species or the society, habitat, community, whatever. And this competition occurs, apparently this competition occurs across the lifespan, across the span of a society. Everywhere from high school or elementary school boys fighting it out on the playground for the affection of the cutest girl in their class, from that to men on the battlefield killing each other for land, territory, or resources that they can either then individually or as a whole community use to secure their own genetic legacy. So there's a problem with this view. The problem is that what some people describe as a result of sexual selection is really not what Charles Darwin, the person who originated the idea of sexual selection, is describing as sexual selection. I'm going to read verbatim here from On the Origin of Species, which is the revolutionary work by Charles Darwin. Okay, in regards to sexual selection, quote, "This depends not on a struggle for existence, but on a struggle between the males for possession of the females. The result is not death to the unsuccessful competitor, but few or no offspring. Sexual selection is therefore less rigorous than natural selection," end quote. I'm going to read one phrase from that a few more times. The result is not death to the unsuccessful competitor, but few or no offspring. The result is not death. This phrase, the result is not death, is grammatically very simple. It's a really very simply constructed phrase. Subject, verb, object. The result, subject, is not, verb, death, object, right? You have to be in first grade, second grade, third grade, and not have mastered the most basic fundamentals of the English language to misinterpret this phrase. It's so simple and so straightforward. Darwin is so utterly clear that war and men killing other men has nothing to do with sexual selection. That the efforts of a lot of men over the course of human history to actively eliminate large chunks of the human gene pool is evolutionarily idiotic, right? It is not sexual selection at all, and in fact, that's extremely dangerous to our ability as a species to survive. The human species is kind of unique in the fact that it's the only species on Earth, Homo sapiens, that actively seeks out and eliminates large numbers of its fellow species, right? Of the fellow members of its own species. No other species really does that. They leave it up to natural or sexual selection to do that. They don't actually go out and think to themselves, this group of bears or peacocks is detrimental to my ability to reproduce, so therefore I'm going to try to eliminate them. It doesn't work that way, right? Only humans are like the only species that do this, right? So the point is that this supposedly natural outcome, this waging war on other people, that's not natural at all. That isn't sexual selection. That's not what Darwin was describing. This isn't what happens in the rest of the animal kingdom. Geneticists, biologists, evolutionary biologists, people who study this field have have long known that social Darwinists aren't really Darwinists at all. See, Darwin argued very clearly that genetic variation and genetic diversity within a species or across species is extremely important for that species' ability to survive and adapt generation after generation after generation. But social Darwinists have kind of bastardized the whole idea of natural selection to say that optimally you want to eliminate large portions of the gene pool in order to kind of select only the most fittest, and that therefore you'll have a perfect society. But see, the thing is, that's the exact opposite of what you want to happen. You have to have genetic variation. You have to have more genetic variation. The most resilient species on Earth, some of the most resilient species on Earth, have survived for so many millions of years because of their adaptability and genetic variation across species. Darwin always knew, and we always knew, that genetic variation is the most important thing. That's what keeps a species alive. That's what increases the potential for your own genetic legacy to live on generation after generation after generation. A very homogeneous gene pool. This is very simple mathematical fact. This is an exercise you could do in your introduction to biology class in high school. This is an exercise that I have done in my AP biology class in high school years ago. You can very simply demonstrate how the less varied a gene pool is, the more likelihood there is for birth defects and lethal mutations and all these kinds of things that in a few generations will absolutely ruin a species and it'll become extinct. I know that's a little bit beside the point, but the reason I'm saying this is because I'm trying to demonstrate how our behaviors as humans aren't natural really at all at this point, or at least the tendency for war, the tendency of humans to kill ourselves isn't natural, right? Because it's detrimental to our ability to perpetuate our genetic legacy. Natural selection, the result of selection, be it natural or sexual selection, is to increase the potential for a species or for individuals of a species to perpetuate their genetic legacy. That's kind of the point. That's the reason. That's the result of selection. Different kinds of selection. Okay, by demonstrating that our behaviors as humans, war, are in fact detrimental to our ability to perpetuate our genetic legacy, demonstrates how, in fact, our behaviors aren't the result of any kind of selection. That they, in fact, not only are they not the result of some kind of selection, but they go against selective processes.